Hello everyone, welcome to the channel, welcome to the workshop. So today we are going to be working on a lower ball joint on a front strut on a Polaris 2019 Polaris Sportsman 450. So I wouldn't typically make this video because I don't think it's going to be very long. Hopefully, I don't want to jinx myself, but I scoured the internet and the YouTube world and I did not find a single video. Not saying there wasn't one that I didn't find, but the way that the algorithms work, they put all the top hits or the big hits on top. So nobody had the predicament that I am having. So the issue that I'm having compared to everybody else, so this is your strut arm. This is the proper orientation of it. Aluminum casting down here on the bottom. We're going to invert it, flip it over, and I'm going to show you the ball joint issue that I'm having. At the beginning of this video, I'm going to troubleshoot my way through this process. So there's going to be quite a bit of talking. I do eventually get this figured out, but if you want to jump towards the end to see what I do, I understand. If you choose to watch, I hope you get something out of it. So on every other video that I saw, the ball joint was wore out and they were needing to replace it, but the ball and the stem were still in the socket. So in my situation, the ball came separated while using the machine, driving it down the road, came separated, and the stem stayed connected to the A arm, and this came separated away. So the predicament I'm having, all the other videos basically they're showing, so this is a sleeve within a sleeve. There's a socket here. This is the old ball. We'll talk about what I had to do to get that out later at the end of the video if you want to stick around. But ball goes in here, the ball came out. But typically what people do is they use this stem as the extraction. There's a separation tool. Basically it's pushing down on the aluminum here and pulling out using this thread, and it pulls this whole sleeve out of a sleeve. So the predicament that I'm in though is that how in the world do I get this sleeve out of there? So let me show you the new ball joint and I'll kind of show you what is actually fitting into that spot right there. So this is the new ball joint. It's got a rubber boot on it. You take that rubber boot off. So you can see that the ball is down into this sleeve, which is basically just like a little mini tuna can, and it fits down into the sleeve in here very, very tight. Usually have to kind of do a heat exchange kind of deal where you get this cold, shrinks it, you warm this up cautiously because it's aluminum. It'll expand this, slide it down in there. In the cooling process, it gets tight. So that's what we're going to do, but the predicament is what do we got to do to get that out, which is basically this right here, that part that is still in there. So my first plan, I've got a couple ideas of something I can do, but this is steel and this is aluminum. So I can weld something to the inside of this at the very bottom. Now if you look in there, it is in really, I don't know if you can see it if this zooms well, but the inside of this is extremely corroded. There's actually a little hole, like a pit in there. So I'm not sure how well this is gonna weld. So that's part one. Drop this in there. I'd be willing to say that it's okay to weld at the very bottom because I'm not too concerned about the heat on the bottom, but I would not weld anything to the side because I don't want it to mess with the aluminum casting. So if I weld this at the bottom, I can thread in a bolt and then slide hammer this out if it holds. That is thought number one. So thought number two is I took measurements of this. The inside is I think 0.9, the outside is like 1.1. So this is about, to the center of this core is about 1 inch, And I have a tap the inside of this with threads and screw probably like a 1-inch pipe, actually probably like 3/4 with 1-inch threads into this, and then use that as a way to try to extract it out of there. So that's the backup plan, but the backup plan might be what I have to use, because the more I look at this, the bottom of this is terrible. It's actually completely corroded. So welding it, the issue that I'm gonna have with welding it though is getting a ground onto this, because this is aluminum. You're not gonna ground the aluminum. So I might be able to put a magnet onto the side of this, touching it, that I can ground. So once again, I could not find anybody else that had made a video with this specific predicament that I'm having. So you watch this, see what happens, and if you find, if somebody out there knows of another video that shows somebody trying to do what I'm doing here, let me know. Shoot me a comment. So let's start by cleaning out the bottom of this with a wire brush. I'm gonna put a wire brush in a drill, try to clean this out and see if I can weld to the bottom of that. I don't even know if I can. Let's try that first. So that looks like plastic. Some kind of very hard plastic. So I would need to get that out before I try to weld anything, which the bottom of it cleaned up really good. I'm assuming the plastic is actually what gets, there's another insert inside this, which is what locks the ball in. So I got to get that plastic out, and then got an idea, and then I can probably weld the nut at the bottom. Plastic is in there. Figured if I could break it in 2 different places, opposite sides, it would pop out. I'm not so certain. All right, there we go. Chunk of plastic. Come on. Chunk of plastic. All right. Let's take the wire brush back to that. See what happens. All right, let's go for it. Let's try to weld. Let's try to weld that dude in there and see what happens. Ta-ha! That'll do it. I didn't do a very good job of explaining this, so we're going to do a little quick voiceover. Basically, it didn't work. I didn't have a bunch of my settings on my, or a couple of the settings on my welder set right, and I welded to the side where the threads were and filled up the threads, but nothing really touched the bottom. So first attempt, fail. So I'm going to try this, and then if this doesn't work, we will run to the hardware store and get another nut. I'm going to save you the pain of having to watch this. This does not work either. Second attempt, fail. All right, so this is take two. I went to the hardware store and I bought a little bit bigger grade 8 nut. It was a 7/8, and it would barely not go down in there. So I put it on the grinder and I grinded it smooth all the way around. So now it will drop in there, and that's a little bit deeper. So let's try to weld that one in there and see what happens. I don't know that it's stuck. Let's see what happens. Nope. Like, it did not stick to that metal down there at all. Is that cast iron? So I had to step back for a second to try to figure this out. The more that I looked at it and the more that I think about it, trying to figure out why a weld wouldn't stick to the bottom of this, which if you look down in there, and it's hard to see on camera, there is a little bit of a pit there, but if it was cast, it would have stuck. It just wouldn't have stuck very well. So I stuck a magnet down in there, and the magnet won't stick to the bottom, it just sticks to the side. So maybe the sides are steel and the bottom is either part of this casting, or kind of like the way this is designed, maybe the bottom of it is aluminum. This is steel because it sticks to it. So the first thing I think I'm going to try here is just to see what the bottom is I'm going to take a drill bit and just lightly test it to see if that's aluminum. And then I think what I'm going to have to do is weld a nut to the top of this and extract it that way. Don't really want to do that, but I think that that's what I'm going to have to do. So let's test that real quick. The bottom is definitely aluminum. To pull the old ball joint collar out using this method, I'm needing an extraction tool, and I do not have one, and I don't have time to order one, so it is not that difficult to make. We're going to put together our own, make our own, super easy, and we'll get this thing out of here hopefully.
kidding me?
Well, I thought I was recording, but I wasn't. And it screwed right out. Well, I thought I was recording, but I was not. But it worked. It screwed right out. There was I heated it up, I put some pressure on it, had it down in there, and I started just very slowly putting pressure on it, some tension on it, and I heard a pop. And I thought, well, either A, the welds broke, or B, it broke free. And then it started spinning pretty freely and pulled itself out. But I was correct. There was no bottom of that, it was just a collar within there. You can see the bottom. So I will need to clean that out and prep it for putting back the new ball joint. I was really worried that welding on this was going to mess it up, but I think it turned out pretty good. If I'd have screwed it up, the strut arm itself was $375. So this is the old collar that I took out, and you can't just slide it down in there. I could probably beat the heck out of it and maybe get it to start down in there, but not very easily. So I've got the new one in ice to shrink. I'm going to heat this up to expand. Put a little bit of lubricant in there, try to get it to fall in. And then this is, I believe, a 13/16 that I put this on the new one, and it's just the right size so you don't have to hit on this. Set this on top of it because it's got the stem that comes out too, and tap it down. So let's give it a whirl. in there. So if you made it this far into the video, I got the collar and the new lower ball joint back into the strut arm. So that's not how this struggle began though. So if you're watching the video and you're just interested in how I got that out and got this new ball joint in, then I appreciate you guys watching. I'm going to talk for just a little while and kind of explain my struggles at the very beginning of this, and maybe this will help somebody. But if you are not interested in that, I appreciate you watching up to this point. So when I first started taking this thing apart, so first of all, this happened, this four-wheeler belongs to a family member. So he stated that he was just driving down the road and this thing completely separated. So when I started tearing into it, I was just trying to figure out basically what happened. The majority of the people, once again, that had this issue or notice that their lower ball joint is wearing out, they pull it long before it becomes completely separated. This thing was corroded beyond corrosion belief. I mean, it was just unbelievably corroded. I don't even know if that's a word or a phrase. I just think I just made that up. But anyway, to complete this process, I guess there were two things that needed to be done. The collar needed to come out of the strut arm, which is what you guys saw me do. But the stem and the bolt portion of the ball was still stuck in the A-arm that connects to the frame. So you have an A-arm that swivels, or it's connected to the frame of the four-wheeler, and it swivels with suspension, and it comes to a point at the top of the A. There is a collar, and I'll show you here, where the stem from the ball joint fits down in that. It would not come out, like it was stuck hard. So, of course, trying to do everything I could to try to get this thing apart. I'll turn around here and show you. So if you can see this, this is your A-arm, okay? And this was stuck hard right there, and it would not come out. It should just be sitting in there basically, but it would not come out. And all I could do was basically try to tap it on the bottom with like a hammer and try to beat it up, but you had to put it up into this, you had to put it up in this position basically, and you're beating against the frame. Wasn't getting a lot of leverage, nothing was happening. So I thought, well, I need to take the A-arm off, and then I could get it on top of a vise or a anvil or something. So there's a bolt here, and there's a bolt here. So this bolt comes in off this mount, off the frame, and it came out. This one just spun, free spun in there, would not come out, would not extract. So I'm assuming there is some type of threaded collar inside this that this threads into, and that collar used to be connected to something so it holds it, but now it's just freely spinning. So when you spin this, it also spins the threaded collar and it won't come out. So basically I had this end loose and it would kind of turn a little bit, but not much, and this would not come out. So I was almost gonna try to cut this bolt on the inside here and cut that, but I didn't really want to do that. So then I thought, well, I saw one other video where somebody cut this off on the top and was trying, basically then this would fall off, and then was trying to drive the rest of the stem or rest of the bolt down through. And I'm glad I didn't try that, because I would have got frustrated, because this is tapered. I'm not sure if you can see that. I'll try to take a picture with my phone, which zooms in a lot better. And I'll take a picture of the new one that shows the taper. But everything I could to try to drive that thing out. I tried to grab a hold of it with pliers and try to get it to move. Nothing happened. I tried to put vice grips on it, get it to move. Nothing happened. So I'm starting to run out of ideas. So I got my grinder out and I grinded a side here and grinded a side here. And I think it was like a, I don't know, 3/4 or something wrench, and I got it on, and I could just barely, I mean barely, hard as I could barely get it to move. And I thought, well, I'll fill this up with some type of lubricant, break free, and get it to move, and it'll eventually come free. And I did that over and over and over and over again. Could not get anything to happen. So then I thought, well, the only other thing I know to do is I physically ground 6 sides to the head of this ball so I could fit a socket onto this with my impact, and got a socket to fit, put my impact on it, spun it, and when I spun it, it instantly broke free and popped out. So that's why this thing has 6 sides. Super frustrating, this whole process, but I got this out. I got the new ball joint in the strut arm, so I'm going to try to put this thing back together and see if I can get this thing running again. It was like a million pieces that I had to take apart to get this. It's so frustrating working on 4-wheelers. You have to take so much apart just to get to where you're wanting to work. So let's see if we can find all the pieces, get this thing back together, and hopefully we'll be good to go. Appreciate you guys watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, leave a comment if you want, and I'll see you on the next one, and hopefully I'll do a little time lapse here and get this thing put back together.